Hello. We are going to be doing a review of some things for math that have been difficult to do in class lately because of some technical issues, which are now solved, thankfully, with the document camera. So I'm going to be walking through your homework from yesterday so that you can actually see the picture quite clearly. And then also page 80, which we were doing in class today. So let's take a look at this. This is not a requirement. This is only if you had a hard time following along with anything from class over the last couple of days. So let's take a look at page 78 first. So this was homework for Thursday. Sorry, just a moment. So homework for Thursday, it says there are 1,287 men at a baseball game. There are 879 fewer women than men at the game. We don't know the number of women at the game yet. That's what question A is. How many women are at the game? We already have an answer sentence as well, so we do not need to create a new one. Now we have men and women that we're comparing here. We've got a difference also between the two. When you see something like that with two different groups being compared, and you've got a difference between them, we're going to create a comparison model. Should look something like this. There are more men at the game than women. If you flip these, that's fine. If your women is on top and the men is on the bottom, that's fine, as long as men is the larger box and that it's labeled 1,287. That's how many men went to the game. We do not know how many women went to the game, but this says that there are 879 fewer women, which means less women. That means it is the difference between the two. Whenever we have a difference between two that we are comparing, our bracket goes like this, or if you flipped yours, it's going to be on the top, as long as it's next to women, that shorter box. This part is unknown to us, but we do know the difference is 879. Once you have subtracted, sorry about that. Also, if you do not need help with this part, but you do need help to look at page 80, feel free to just skip ahead in the video. Minus 879. Once you've regrouped this one, you should have an answer of 408. Okay, so your work goes here. Just like that. Now, 408 women are at the game. In this problem, you actually could use this exact same bar model to answer part B. A lot of times you have to create a brand new bar model. With this one though, you're actually able to solve for part B with the same bar model, as we're looking for how many adult spectators are at the game. Spectators means people watching the game. We can solve for the total by adding our men and women. We can put a bracket there for the total number of women. I'm going to move this over to the side. Sorry, the total number of men and women. That is what you can do for part B. You can just draw an arrow up saying that's the model that I'm using for part B. You also could have a brand new bar model with both men and women. That would be fine for you to do as well. That is not any worse. It just takes more time. So you have men as a larger part than women. You can label inside if you'd like for these bar models. And your labels on the outside, we're going to have for men 1,287, for women 879. Our total is unknown. There's a question mark at the top. Same for this one. If you've not done that part whole one, you can still find the exact answer. Oh, and I'm sorry, 879 is the wrong number of women. That was the difference between the two. That's why it's actually very good to write your answer next to the question mark so it's very clear what is each part of the bar model. So 408 women plus 1,287 men we can do the math along the side here. 1,287 plus 408 equals 1,695. Your answer will go in your answer sentence. And beside your question mark in the model, whether you've done just this with the bracket on the side, or you've done a model like this, a brand new part whole bar model. Okay. So that is an example of what you could do for that one. Let's move on now to page 79. On page 79, this is your homework as well. This is just for you to check. It says a school sets aside $4,756 for its athletic fund. It sets aside $1,297 less dollars for its library fund. Question A is how much money is in the library fund? It's important with all bar models or word problems to have a mental picture in mind of what's happening in this. So a school is setting aside a bunch of money for its athletic fund. If you're getting confused by some of the wording like this athletic fund and it's making it difficult to do the story problem, go ahead and ask your parents or send me a message so that you're able to understand what's happening. You need a mental picture to be able to understand it. Because even if you see these numbers, you won't know whether you add or subtract them. You're not sure what to do if you don't understand the whole story and the story as a whole. So this school has some money in an athletic fund, which is money that will go towards its athletic. It also has a library fund, money going to the library. There's $1,297 less dollars in that one. So which one is bigger? Athletic or library fund? The athletic fund. Do we know how much money is in the library fund? No, we don't. We just know that there's less in the library fund. The question that we're trying to answer first is how much money is in the library fund? Now we have two things here, athletic fund and library fund. We know how much the athletic fund has. We don't know the library fund, but we do know the difference. That should be putting an idea in your head of which bar model to create. A part whole model. Oh, I'm sorry, misspoke. A comparison model. I'm sorry, it's the end of a long day. Now we've got a comparison model here with both athletic and library funds. Which one is the larger box? The athletic fund. You can put an A. The smaller one is for the library fund. Do we know how much the athletic fund has? Yes, $4,756. Do we know how much the library fund has? Nope, that part is unknown. That's what we're trying to solve. We do know this difference. Whenever we have something like this where it says one is less than the other or one is more than the other, that difference between the two goes here, next to the smaller box, always next to the smaller box, and up until the point that larger box ends. It's $1,297 less. So we've got this larger box and this smaller one, and we're trying to solve for this. Do we add or subtract to do that? I'm going to subtract this from this. 4,576 minus 1,297. Once you've done that, you should have an answer of $3,459. We put that in our model. On your page, it should look like this. This is where you show your work. Well, hopefully you've shown your work up here with the regrouping. You've solved all of that. Okay, so 3,459 is what is in that library fund. That's the smaller box. Whenever we have this comparison model with a larger box and a difference, we subtract to find the smaller box. If we know these two, we add them to get this larger box. Second question, $948 is spent from the library fund. How much money is left? Picture that, make a mental picture. We're talking about just the library fund. Now, out of all of this money, $948 was spent. So some is spent, and there's going to be some still left. We need to create a new part-whole model with this one rectangle that we're going to split up into two parts. We're just taking this one rectangle, splitting it up into what was spent versus what is left. Our total goes on the top. Remember, we're talking about a library fund, all of the money that goes to the library. We just solved for that. Look at that. It says $3,459 is in the library fund. That's our total amount for the whole library fund. We know that some of it was spent. $948 was spent. This part here is what is unknown. And if some is spent, this part is basically how much money is left. So we know the whole and one part. We're trying to look for that missing part. Whenever you see a part-whole problem like this, where you have the total and one part, we're going to subtract to find this part. Once you have done that, you'll have an answer of 2,511. Okay. Hopefully you're showing your work for that all the way across. Now, 3,459 minus 948 equals 2,511. You'll put multiple places here in the answer sentence, in the word, the bar model. Okay. here, and here. Okay, so that was your homework. Make corrections if needed. If these are switched, you've got 2,511 here, 948 here. That's fine. You don't need to be too concerned with where things go as long as your labels are correct. For example, that the athletic fund is 4,576, and it should be the bigger box. It needs to be the bigger box. Then you've got your library fund. Let's take a look at page 80 finally. This is what we did in class for Friday. So just to walk through a picture of this, I did it on Jamboard in class today, but for those who had a hard time following along with Jamboard, which I'd like to use a little bit more, but this document camera is working fine now, so it should be not necessary most of the time. So we are going to just show what that looks like from what we did in Friday's class. With a school clerk printing some newsletters, 635 on a Monday, she prints 96 fewer newsletters on Wednesday. How many newsletters does she print on Wednesday is our question. Well, let's start off with an answer sentence. She prints blank newsletters on Wednesday. Spelling word. Sorry about that. She prints blank newsletters on Wednesday. Now make a good mental picture of this school clerk. If that part alone is confusing, ask your parents or shoot me a message, because I don't want you to get stuck on the whole problem just because there's a part that you don't understand. And so the whole thing is jumbled in your mind and you can't picture it. But basically, you've got someone working at a school who's printing 635 newsletters on Monday. She prints fewer or less newsletters on Wednesday. We don't know how many newsletters. We do know the difference between Monday and Wednesday. This is another problem really similar to what we just did, where we know one and we know the difference. We're looking for part of it though. We're looking for Wednesday. So does that mean comparison or part whole? Comparison. So we've got Monday, and she printed fewer newsletters on Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to be a smaller box. Monday, Wednesday. We know it was 635 on Monday. We know 96 fewer were printed on Wednesday. But we don't know how many were printed on Wednesday yet. Every time you see a problem like this, where you have one amount and you have a difference and you're looking for something smaller, the smaller box, you'll subtract to find that. Once you have done that, you should have an answer of 539. Once you've regrouped this one, 539, which you'll put in your answer sentence and your bar model. That tells us what Wednesday's amount was. Now it says, how many newsletters does she print in all? There's actually two ways to do this, just like we were looking at with the men and women at a baseball game. You can just add a bracket to what we already have in this comparison model. Would go right there, adding together the Monday and Wednesday newsletters. If we add these two amounts, we'll have the answer to part B. But you could also draw a part whole bar model with Monday and Wednesday. So for the answer sentence, we would say something like, she prints blank newsletters in all, and you can solve based off of that bar model. Or if you have a new part whole bar model, it would look something like this. Monday, Wednesday, 635, 539, and finding the total. Whether you do this or this, either way, you've got two parts that you're trying to add to come up with the whole. So you'll add these two numbers. Either way you do this. This just happens to be a little simpler because you don't have to draw anything extra. But let's show our work down here. 635 plus 539 equals, 5 plus 9 is 14, 7 in the tens place, 11 in the hundreds and thousands place altogether. So 1,174 newsletters is the total for Monday and Wednesday. Okay, so that is what we were doing on Friday's class. I hope that helps to have a visual of it. Feel free to just skip over and maybe only watched parts of this video because you understood the homework well and you just needed what we did in class, or maybe vice versa. You needed help going over the answers to the homework, but not the classwork. 81 and 82 are what you're going to do later on. My 11:30 class, I know, did this one as well, but for my 8:30 class, they're going to do 81 and also 82. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I appreciate you all for having great attitudes and persevering even with some technical problems that were happening this week, which I am pretty sure those problems are totally gone. So the settings are proper so that I'll be able to use the document camera in the future. Jamboard was fun though, so maybe we'll still do that occasionally. Okay, that is all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend if you're watching this on Friday, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.